I forgot my iPad. And that tells you something about the fact that we all need to up our stakes in these matters about artificial intelligence and the need to have proper elections, like they've just had in the US. Therefore, we want to congratulate the American people for they continue to show the way in terms of democratic conduct. They didn't apparently have an IEBC to make the final announcements, but I'll come to that later. And I choose, therefore, to place on record my remarks. Good morning to everybody. On the occasion of this regional conference on the use of AI and digital media in Kenyan elections, I'm delighted to share with you some insights on artificial intelligence and digital media. Let me at the very outset congratulate the organizers of this conference for this very timely focus on the twin areas of AI and digital media on the one hand, and on the other hand, elections in Kenya. Since the return of multi-party democracy in Kenya on December 10, 1991, when Section 2A of the then Constitution of Kenya was repealed, no national issue has appeared to dominate our collective national psyche as Kenyans in the same manner as general elections have. This discussion has been both controversial and impassioned. It has centered on the question of electoral justice and peace. Our elections over the past 33 years have been informed by suspicion, mistrust, and unfortunately also with violence. It is easy to understand that this unfortunate character of our elections, as well as conversations on elections, is a factor of the importance that Kenyans attach to elections, as indeed they should. Elections give the people the opportunity to have a say on who governs them and how they are governed. This is the true meaning of self-determination. Since we cannot all participate in the day-to-day determination of our governance, however, all citizens who have reached the age of majority are given the chance to decide on their political leadership at various levels of government. We do this every 5 years. Self-determination in our context, therefore, means people participating freely in determining their government based on competitive electoral democracy. Therefore, nobody, and no Kenyan, has taken seriously that latter-day conversation about extension of terms. Nobody. And I think that has been dropped like a hot potato. The elections are not an end in themselves. Rather, they are a means to an end. The end is validation of democratic governance. This is to say, good governance based on the will of the people. This will is expressed through universal suffrage. Social science philosophers have called this expression of choice of governance the general will of the people. Accordingly, it is the greatest essence that electoral processes and outcomes should express the general will of the people. Electoral technologies should facilitate rather than compromise democracy. Democratic elections, for their part, can only be stated to be so when the processes and the outcomes are above board. This is to say that the elections are free, just, and fair. They reflect the will of the voters. Let me restate that electoral technologies are crucial to democratic processes and outcomes in elections. When discussing on the issue of AI in elections, therefore, we must never lose focus of the need for elections to be free and fair, and be seen to be so. Electoral laws in Kenya have prescribed that elections should be conducted in a manner that is simple, verifiable, free, and fair. As a country still embraces digital platforms for elections, therefore these variables should never be lost. For put together, the four variables amount to what is called electoral justice. It is electoral justice that enables us to say that the majority have it their way, while the minority have their say. When the minority are satisfied that elections reflect the will of the majority through a simple, verifiable, free, and fair process, they are able to live with this outcome. This is regardless that the outcome may not reflect their preference. Election technologies, accordingly, must be intentionally fashioned to be simple, verifiable, free, and fair. Verifiability of electoral processes and outcomes easily constitutes the most contestable of the four ingredients in an exercise that is intended to be simple, verifiable, free, and fair. Unfortunately, when electoral processes and outcomes become difficult to verify, controversy results. When winners cannot prove how they won and losers are unable to verify that the winners actually won, chaos of the kind that Kenya has witnessed over the past 3 decades should not surprise us when they do actually happen. It is in this regard that I find this conference extremely important. It is particularly important because it gives us a reasonable lead time to process some of the thoughts that we should aim to convert into useful action points for the 2027 general elections. As we make our way towards 2027, we do well to remind ourselves that the world is now rolling on digital platforms. Big data, 3D, machine learning, blockchains, Internet of Things, and AI are at once the engines and wheels on which society rides today. This technology now rules all spheres of life at home and at work. It is changing the way things have traditionally been done and changing the people too. This reality must be borne in mind by both those who are charged with managing electoral processes and the citizens too. Commonality of understanding on the technology and how it is used is very important for all players. And it is useful to add that this common understanding surpasses the voters, the candidates, and the electoral authorities to go all the way to the judiciary. For quite often, contestation will end up before the judiciary for adjudication and vindication. The judiciary, for its part, can only be a good adjudicator and vindicator when it is self-sufficiently seized of the technology at each of the stages where it has been used. The people too, as I've already observed, are changing. It is not just a question of people adapting to electoral technology. It is also about electoral technology adapting to the people. In Kenya today, young people constitute a critical mass of the population. Our Gen Z and millennials were born either in the era of enhanced digital networking powered by Web 2, or they have grown up within an era marked by elevated use of the internet, mobile devices, and social media. Unlike most earlier generations, Gen Zs and millennials have grown up with new tech choices. They are accustomed to interactive media, are tech-savvy, and are socialized to work with media on user-controlled platforms than earlier generations, who consumed mostly supplier-controlled information. How is electoral technology adjusting to the tech realities within this population that is going to be the single largest demographic in the 2027 elections? How are the voter registration processes, voter register inspection, voting, vote counting, and all the subsequent processes going to give meaningful comfort and confidence to the emerging generations of voters. How confident can they be that their will has been respected? These and many more are very important questions for the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and for all of us, too. Courtesy of AI, we are now able to conduct campaigns online. 5 to 6 years ago, TikTok and show reels were nothing big. Today, that is where the numbers seem to be flowing. User-generated content on these platforms is attracting viewers and advertisers on TikTok. It should not surprise us to see politicians migrating to these platforms, among others, to conduct their campaigns. Yet, numerous legal challenges lie ahead. How are we going to regulate ethical issues in campaigns on these platforms? Are the existing laws on digital technology sufficiently tight and yet also sufficiently democratic for use of digital platforms for election campaigns? I posit that we need urgent conversations on the use of these platforms, for whether we like it or not, they are going to be used in elections going forward. The time to get things right and ready is right now. Regrettably, this discourse is side-blinded by the fact that IEBC is not functional. Less than 3 years to the 2027 general elections. We are therefore holding this very important conference with a malformed, indeed not malformed. Arjan is here. He cannot be IEBC. I urge those who are standing in the way of reconstituting IEBC to be able to see the bigger picture. They should set aside their narrow selfish interests in preference to the greater good of this nation. Please allow us to reconstitute IEBC as soon as possible. Please allow us. We want the Commission to begin working towards credible use of technology, among other preparatory calls, in readiness for a credible election. IEBC must also conduct voter education on the technology it is going to use, including digital technology. In the past, legal process and challenges in the electoral processes have been attended to when we are too close to elections. This enables elections to be manipulated for selfish ends by those who think that they have legislative advantage. This is a terrible trend that must end. Post the NADCO process last year, there has been very little movement on the recommendations that we made or were made. It is difficult to understand why. Is someone deliberately delaying the implementation of these recommendations with some sinister selfish agenda? Timelines for credible elections are fast fading away. Soon, IEBC will go into the panic mode if they have not already done so. Haven't I read that they have even sought an advisory of the Supreme Court? Are we not able to take any lessons from our past mistakes? Let me conclude by making a series of other quick observations. First, it is important to progressively review the electoral legal environment for purposes of securing electoral justice. This should be done early enough and with the requisite transparency to protect elections from abuse and open influence that erodes their credibility. In this regard, AI is at once an opportunity and a challenge. Used well, AI can make the electoral processes faster, more secure, and more scientifically verifiable and acceptable by all parties. But AI also poses serious challenges. Badly used, AI-generated content and material have been found to close the gap between what is real and what is fake. Together with all the advantages, AI has also opened up the world to fakery and quackery. We are said to be living in the post-truth age. When the ingredients of this age are infused into electoral processes, they can only spell disaster. Facts can be manipulated. People can be used to say things they have actually not said. They can do things they have not done, and it can be very difficult to deny. Elsewhere, images of celebrities have been published in pornographic contexts. Disinformation has found a new tool in AI as a make-believe weapon. How do we weed these deleterious possibilities out of the electoral space? Such are some of the challenges we must reflect upon and address ahead of the 2027 elections. I don't know why somebody is playing the national anthem. Perhaps that gives me a break before I say thank you to observe. There are certain things that are of immediate attention. Anybody in Kenya today hearing that the Senate wishes to do with away with the live streaming of elections would just be surprised. Are we going backwards or forwards in this country? But one thing is sure, and this from the example of the Gen Z revolution, the reality of what young Kenyans have said. This country is not the same. It will never be the same after what happened last year with the Gen Z revolution. Please take note. Nobody can ever take Kenyans for granted. And I dare say, nobody will be seen to dare to steal the next elections. May God bless our country. Thank you very much.